Hey, thanks for joining us. Today I'm just finishing up the detail sanding on this airplane. And what that entails is, if you remember, I told you about DC 540. We bring it down till you can just see through it. Now, I went to the body shop and I bought these sponges. And they're hard on this side, or harder, and soft on this side. I'm sanding with 600, and I'm kind of detailing everything. I'm going around all the edges, and I'm looking for any imperfections in the material. I have my spot putty. I had just spot puttied this spot right here, and that's why we're sanding it here. So I'm getting the primer lightened up. But in this video, I'm going to be taking you to George Aldrich's house for just a quick minute. And it's a kind of an excerpt off of the Robin's View production CD that's available through Robin's View. And then I'll take you over to Bill Werwage, and we'll show you how he does a beam wing. Now, these videos are all available from Robin's View production. And I can't bring you the whole video because they're for sale. I didn't make them, from somebody else. I do have his permission to, show some short clips and show you what to expect. Now, I can't. He has one that I really like called The Man in His Museum, but I have it on VHS and I can't get it uploaded. So maybe sometime if I get a CD, I can give you a little bit of Billy's Man in His Museum, and I've watched it several times. Bill Werwage is quite the thing to watch as far as I'm concerned. So without further ado, let's see George Aldrich.
Welcome to the shop. I didn't have time to clean it up. I've been out of town on AMA business too much. Hopefully we can show you a little bit about what I do. I sometimes wonder if anybody ever understands all the things that go into putting engines together. I don't know if you can see this or not. This is a whole cabinet full of special reamers, metric sizes, thou over and under, quarter thou over and under to meet certain dimensions. Both of these cabinets are full of end mills and tools that it takes to do all this, both carbide and regular tool steel. This is my assembly area. The engines you see here are engines that are presently being worked on. We'll have another table we'll show you later that's the outgoing table and the ingoing table. I sometimes wonder how I keep all the engines straight, because one minute I might be working on a 1935 Baby Cyclone and the next minute I'm working on the latest model Snarl, but I guess I've been doing it so long it just comes natural. One thing I've learned at my age, you write everything down. I have notepads everywhere with detailed sketches, everything, the parts that I make, because if I don't, I'll never remember it. You never know when the phone's going to ring and you've got dimensions in your head, and if you don't have it written down, you'll go back to it and can't remember it. But I've been honing some ABC cylinders today. I guess we could show you the final three that I've got to do and then where I go with them after that. Okay. Here we are at the hone. These are some ABC Fox 35 pistons and cylinders. I'm just getting ready to do the final rough up of the chrome. If you'll see, they're already chromed inside and the initial fitting has been done. This is the high silicon aluminum piston, and they already start pretty well in there, just got to be cleaned up. Here's a McGass 35 cylinder that's already been chromed. It needs to be honed and fit, and we can go to final assembly. Well, this is the basic sun and hone that I worked on at Fox, and I'm sure K&B has one very similar. The light cutting pressure, heavy cutting pressure, dilation of the moving stone. This is your mandrel. It's been zeroed in with a last word mic or dial indicator so that you know you're dead true on the sleeve. And then the cutting oil runs, and when this rotates, it feeds the oil to the sleeve. This is your holder. It's a piece of crocus cloth. Works on the bevel, rides on the bar. You got to check each one individually to make sure they come up in the sleeve as far as they're supposed to. I've done all the previous fitting. What I want to doing now is, this stone is fairly rough and it puts a crosshatch in the sleeve that will transfer and hold oil. And that stroke puts a crosshatch that's like this. And that helps hold the oil and carry the oil up. Okay. This is the way I am when people call in the middle of the day and it takes me so long to get to the telephone. Here's a basket full of sleeves getting ready to go in the Ultrasonic. What I do is all of these are numbered or lettered and coded so that they're matchable. Each set is matched. I push all the pistons out, and this lets the Ultrasonic cleaner with all its ingredients in the solution, and it has a heater. It's a gallon size, and this lifts all the crud and everything that was in the parts, in the honing oil and everything, gets them perfectly clean. And I can go back and match up the pistons and cylinders, fit the rods in the wrist pin clips, and they're ready for final assembly. Now these pistons and cylinders that were made in, I had them made in Russia, will drop into any Fox ever made, including the old 2-bolt. I did one for D. Hill, and he just loves it because it runs so smooth. It takes all the vibration out of the Fox. Unfortunately, the Russians have not learned how to do business in the free enterprise system, and I don't know if I can get any more made. They would be about $125 if we had them made over here, unfortunately. And we give it a couple of minutes. It'd probably be a good idea to show you some of the different types of fits you run into. Here's an Orvik 64. This engine's lost its compression, it's worn out. So it will be chromed and then fit. Before I do that, I have to hone them out first. And this is where you make sure you have a perfectly round sleeve, is the honing operation. Not only does it put in crosshatch, but it prepares the surface better for chrome. I use a very rough diamond stone to prepare the surface for chrome. And if I wanted to, I could put a very shiny, slick finish on it. But I believe in the rough crosshatch, so there's a 40 VF OS. Brand new, out of the box. The customer sent it in. Bill Melton and Navy Carrier business sent it in to have it, the nickel plating honed out and chrome, because the nickel just doesn't stand up. Here's a big OPS 90. Now when I finish honing that sleeve on the hone, open it up to put 3 thousandths of better chrome on the cylinder, then these caps will go on it, and I'll use plater's tape, and the anode goes down through the center, and you tape this all off completely so that no acid or anything can get to the outer surface. The only thing's exposed is the actual bore. It's chromed or honed out oversize, and then I chrome it back undersize. And when it comes out of the chrome tank, then it's ready to be honed and the final fit done. Now this is a cast iron Fox 40. This fit will be very loose. As you can see, it's not very tight now, but when I get through with it, you'll be able to put your fingers over the end of the sleeve with the piston loose inside and shake it. And it'll shake up and down, but when you seal it against your hand and against the exhaust, it'll seal dead tight. No leaks. And that comes from the proper fits and everything being round, so that you have a good free engine. There's very little or any break-in required. It just gets better as you run it. But it all comes down to getting the fits like they're supposed to be to start with. These happen to be racing 40s, and I'm getting ready to retime them and cut the ports so that they'll run for stunt. They have a tremendous amount of blowdown and only want to run 2-cycle. When we get through, they'll run a 2/4 brake just like a Stunt 35 will. Maybe it'd be a good idea to explain the idea of blowdown. Here's a piston and cylinder, and as you can see, this is the exhaust side and this is the intake side. The top of the exhaust port is higher than the top of the intake port. And the difference between those two is what we call blowdown. And one of the secrets of the old Fox 35 is that not only did it have a baffle piston, but it had a very narrowed blowdown so that it would scavenge and run 4-cycle without losing a great deal of power. It's kind of a maximum engine stuffed in a minimum case. And the engine that made it famous was the old 2-bolt and the 3-bolt, which had 5-to-1 compression ratios. And you couple that with the proper blowdown, get an engine we can rotate here and show you. What you're interested in is the total rotation from the time the exhaust opens and the piston's on the downstroke until it comes around and goes up on the upstroke and it closes the port again. You write down those in degrees, have a degree wheel. This is measured in degrees. And you put this on the shaft, and you find the number of degrees it takes for the exhaust to open and come back and close, and you write that down, and you take the number of degrees it takes the intake port to open and go through bottom dead center and close. Subtract one to the other, and you have the total blowdown of the engine. 14 degrees is about the optimum. You don't want any more than that. Any more than that, and they start to become more and more two-cycle and not four-cycle engines. I never had a Fox burp in the corner in my life. I've been running them for 45 years, and it's my opinion that the reason that they burp in the corners is because either a bad tank or an improperly vented tank. I'm just finishing up a profile over to use for a test bed, and we're going to find out if that still holds, if I can still make one run without a burp. This is the basic operation that I do when I'm modifying porting for Stunt engines. This happens to be a Fox 40 plain bearing, and I'm getting ready to set it up to raise the port so that the blowdown will be proper. Okay, this is cranking the mill up. This is a cigarette paper, and it gives me, as soon as that touches, I know I'm with 1/1000th of dead zero on the top edge of the port. Now I set the dial. Now we come back, lower this down, come back to zero, run the mill forward, that's the first cut. Now, because the snurl porting is angled, I have to pick up and come over and pick up the angle of the back of the port. We're going to turn it to the first cut setting. All right, now we go to the final cut. Now, as you can see, the top of this port is considerably higher than the top of the other port. Now, the next step is to do the other port. That'll work. Now there's burrs all over that. Again, we'll go back to the hone with a very fine hard stone and just knock those burrs loose and degrease the part, and it'll be ready for the final fitting. Now we've got the ports cut. I always do a double check. These are analysis sheets that I do on every engine showing the port timing, the sleeve dimensions, the shaft dimensions, the head clearance, all the details about the engine, what kind of head shape it has, what the plug depth is, and all of that. Now that I've got these modified, I just double checking my dimensions, and I'm well within rights there of having a good one. Both of these now are ready to be finish honed and fit up. Oddly enough, when you change porting like that, a lot of times you have to go back with a burr and open up the crankcase because the casting will block off the ports. And you always want to leave a little bit of a lip there hanging in the port to turbulate the fuel. But that's the start of things, of the heart of an engine. If the piston and cylinder is not right, then it never achieves its full potential. And the porting arrangement basically comes from this engine right here. It actually originally came from this old Super Cyclone of Mel Anderson, but that's an Orwick 64. And Duke Fox told me one time that he learned about the port timing on the Stunt engine from Henry Orwick. So we got a long lineage. It goes back to Mel Anderson, and he built his first engine in 1932, the year I was born. So we reinvent the wheel all.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that that time with George Aldrich. And that tape, or that disc, is about an hour long. And I'll leave a link in the description box where to get that tape. And here again, you notice what I'm doing here is I'm paying special detail to where the wing meets the fuselage. If you can see any imperfection in primer, it will really stand out as like a sore thumb in color. So the whole model gets gone over like this. We're going to be painting tomorrow. I didn't get to it today. I have spent, since my last sanding video, I have spent at least 20 hours sanding here, but it's not ready. And because this is my Nats airplane for next year, I kind of want it to be nice. We hope this is my Nats airplane. It's going to get a sister built of it. But think about this. I have to finish 4 airplanes on my painting project. I have to finish this one. I have to finish framing and covering a classic Continental, which I'm going to have that done by next month. And I've been showing those movies as we go, and I'll show some of those tomorrow. But I also have to build a scale chipmunk for next year's scale meet. And so it's going to be a busy year this year. I think the roofer is going to want an airplane or wing built for him, so I'll have to do that as well. The the finishing takes much longer to do than the building. You can build 4 or 5 airplanes in the time it takes to finish one, or just finish one. Now I try to cram all this finishing into, you know, a couple of weeks, but I really have to work hard at it. I hope you're enjoying my channel. Please remember, if you do, like, subscribe, share, donate so I can keep this channel going. Become a member of Stunt Hanger. That's important. I got for any of you train guys, we're going to be doing a little collaboration tonight with YouTube model builders, and they're going to try to show me how to do some other things on this channel. You'll notice here what I'm basically doing. On this is I'm turning the primer to a milky gray, and we want it just light enough that like right here, you can just start to see through it. And when it gets there, you stop. If I sanded on that some more, it would turn balsa color, and we don't want that, especially back here, because the back half is going to be white. White is a light color, and very hard to cover with. I'll see if we can show this on the if you'll notice here, it's light. You can, like this side I've sanded too much, so I'm going to have to take the can and just I'll just dust a little bit on to make it all the same color. And that'll save paint because you're not going back and forth with the white. Put my thumbprint on it. It all needs to be sanded anyway. You can't just put this primer on and expect it to be all right. So we'll let it dry there. I'll let it tack up, and I'll knock off the sanding, you know, the overspray, and that'll be ready to go. And I'm thinking that this airplane is going to be ready to paint tomorrow. Had I have not gone to DC 540, I'd still be waiting for paint to dry and sanding. Because when you do it the other way with clear dough for white paint, you have to wait for days for the stuff to dry up so that you can sand it and get it off. Otherwise, it just gums up the paper. So I did try the old way of the dope with no primer. I don't like it, so I'll stick with my DC 540. I don't know where we are on weight. I did finish up the wheel doors with fiberglass. So this is let's see what it weighs, see how much weight I put on in primer. I would say that I put on maybe 1.5 ounces in primer on the whole airplane. And you're going to put that on in dope anyway, so Right now the airplane's at 52 3/4 ounces. So doesn't look like we're going to make our 56 ounce weight mark, because I just don't believe that I can get all the color on it in 4 ounces. But hey, you know, I do the best I can. Anyway, it's coming out pretty good, and stay tuned for some more updates. Till I see you again, fair winds, tight lines. See ya!